B2B Cambodia, the portal for business use in Cambodia.
Just a little bit on the World Bank report, and I don't want to get too deep into it because anybody could just throw out suggestions how you could have a wonderful tax system, and some of it is maybe punitive to taxpayers, and some of it may have a lot of merit. So I'm not criticizing or commending the World Bank for what they've said, but some of the things it's worth discussing some of the things they've touched upon. So one of them, which I have been a big advocate of, was excise taxes on tobacco and alcohol. We're pretty low on taxes for tobacco and alcohol in our market. So the idea is it's a deterrent. I don't know if it's a deterrent because it seems people still drink and smoke anyway if they want to, but taxes on what we call sin taxes, I guess, were recommended. Also, an increase in VAT, which I think that would be, in our stage of economy, would be a little bit premature. VAT is, as a consumer now, we're seeing it in a lot of the retail outlets where when I first came to Cambodia, you never saw it, but it is affecting the bill. And there are some good things too. We're seeing service charges as well, and
yeah. Well, I think the World Bank really did have a good focus on how we can grow the revenue base. Okay, and again, a lot of that was on expanding the taxpayer base. You know, there was a focus on the excise tax we have in Cambodia, and also how do we adjust our tax, get the best bang for our buck. Increasing taxes are a great way to increase revenue, but what we want to do is give a great opportunity for the informal economy to go, come over here, you know, and especially that's often the challenge with the excise taxes.
That I think sometimes is a little bit hypocritical, because the idea was if we keep taxes low, it's like we have the small taxpayer status, that will encourage businesses that are informal to register. I think businesses that are informal will try as long as they possibly can not to register. So it has to be more of almost a policing action, like we had said, you know, when the GDT comes and puts that sticker on. I mean, if you don't have to pay tax and you don't believe you have to pay tax, it's not the fact that you're going to get a little better package to pay tax that you're going to see businesses all of a sudden rush to say, I want to pay tax now, because it's not that bad.
Correct, but I think it's a staged approach. What I'm trying to say is, let's get to stage one, get to stage two, you know, because you don't want to try.
I actually believe you need to police more and be a little bit more.
Correct.
And I'm going to say something a little bit more controversial here. I had suggested that even businesses that have been in the informal economy that shouldn't be for years there should be punitive taxes. The GDT has been really generous when a business finally that's been in the informal economy registers. It's almost like we'll forget the past and let you stop paying taxes now. Where in other countries, if you're escaping tax in the past and you should have been paying tax, that's almost a crime. So I think we need to be a bit stronger with those businesses, and I think that will encourage them a little more if they feel that there'll be penalties for not registering rather than. But that's my position. And that's not a new position. I've been saying it for years.
But again, I'll give you an example. We talk about, you know, alcohol tax. I think, there's the discussion on the excise and on the public lighting tax, the different frameworks. I think the government's kind of taken two different approaches where they've worked really well in limiting signboards around of alcohol, especially around school zones, especially around, in the interest of public safety. There's also been limitation now on the giveaway alcohol, the giveaway, the lucky dips you'll get in your cans, and limiting on discounts, because often the biggest challenge is what's your revenue, or we gave buy one get one free, these sort of arrangements. But there's also other scope, and the World Bank says, is looking at how we manage the excises, the other taxes, and I think sometimes taxes are based on the sales price, but a cheap beer and an expensive beer, they have the same impact on your health, no matter the price. And so often, there's other ways we can look at these taxes, whether it's on alcohol volume, whether it's on
more
a unit.
expensive, you'll drink less. Who knows?
Well, exactly. I think, and you'll be more conservative. So I think generally, a $1 beer will attract a certain amount of a 10-cent tax. A $5 beer will attract a 50-cent tax, but the actual health impact may be no different.
A lot of wealth in Cambodia has been built on real estate. Has built on the ability to get land cheap and sell it at high prices over the years. And a lot of Cambodia's elite and wealthy still own huge amounts of real estate that they bought at very low prices. We have been delaying capital gains tax for years. But I believe that that is necessary, especially with real estate transactions. Some land has, for instance, been bought at 10 cents. That's worth $5 now. So that whole tax is escaping the tax system, which I understand we have to be careful how we do that over the years and do it gradually. And in fact, I think the tax formula that was put in place for capital gains is very generous if you take the method where you're only really paying 4% in the end because you have that 80%
deduction.
Yeah, so that's as gradual as you get, but I believe it's time.
Yeah, and I think so. Again, capital gains tax, it's not new. It's in the law of taxation. It's been around for some time. I think it's just been delayed in the implementation. I think many of us in the registered companies are already paying capital gains tax. But it's now expanding that base we talk about to the individuals and to the non-resident taxpayers who may have transactions as well. I think there's a really good opportunity in capital gains tax. And I'll tell you why, is that it follows the cost base. So you buy something for 10, you sell it for 30, you'll be paying capital gains on the 20 gain. But there'll be, with adjustments, but in the simplest method, you'll be paying on the cost base. But what that also means is there's now a really important way, we talk about documentation, to make sure you get your original cost base. Because often in the transactions, we'll say, okay, I'll sell you this block of land for 100, but let's just say we sold it for 40. And then what you see is an under declaration of tax and an under declaration of property tax and an under declaration of other taxes. But having this tax base in place where you say, okay, I'm selling it for 100, it's in your best interest to make sure the documentation clearly says 100. So that way you're not getting in a situation where it's going to come back and bite you later on down the track where your cost base is not consistent, where your cost base is not, where you're getting paid extra capital gains tax later.
Is there anything in the working group that you're particularly working on that you would like to mention as something that's getting a lot of airtime?
I think there's some interesting emerging issues we found. I think especially in the focus now in the tax department is where you do have companies which are compliant, they're paying the taxes in a regular manner. There is also a focus on the way they are paying their taxes. So a good example is on deposits being paid, especially in the VAT claims. So making sure under the law on taxation, you need to issue a VAT invoice when the goods are supplied or when the payment's being received. And so often those may happen at two different times. Maybe you'll take a deposit first, and then a couple of months later you'll deliver the goods because you're shipping them in, you're dealing with supply timing. And so it's important that you be consistent in the way you're raising the VAT invoices to make sure that you're not having any gaps in your declarations. And so these are things we're seeing. We work with the business community. Us at AmCham, we do see issues come through, and we want to make sure, are they actually on their merit, or is it maybe things we can do as taxpayers to improve our declarations and to improve our processes?
It's an educational issue.
Yeah, exactly.
There's different ways, I guess, companies do their taxes and their accounting. Sometimes it's internal, and that's usually when they want to save money, or sometimes it's outside advisors. We find when we're asked to assist, let's say, on audits, it's usually because the company has an internal accountant that really doesn't, or a tax person that doesn't really keep up with all the things that are happening in the market. And it's very difficult sometimes because you do have accounting issues you got to keep up with, and also tax issues you have to keep up. And then there's MOC and Ministry of Labor, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But you have to keep up with all these things that are happening in the market. We have some companies, for instance, that have a few staff, 3 staff, and they say, I had to pay NSSF. I had no idea.
Exactly.
I thought it was that, because in the law sometimes it's misunderstood. You start paying at 8 people or more, and that's actually 0 people or more. So there is a lot to keep up with, and deposits, for instance, is a bit of changing from time to time.
Often there's a clear distinction. Generally, I think when you're doing sales transactions and you're making a deposit in advance, they're often not refundable, because it's okay, you pay the deposit now and we'll deliver the goods in 3 months' time. And it's very hard to ask for your money back in those circumstances. But in the case of the rental agreement, they're very clear, okay? These are refundable deposits. After a certain period, you'll get these funds back. And so that's where the distinction, I think the tax office has probably struck the right balance there, honestly.
Absolutely.
I think you mentioned, I'll have a good sales pitch, is that tax is very things are always changing, and you always need to be on top of the ball, and that's the reality in the world we live in right now. This is where membership of AmCham is really helpful. If there's a sort of tax issue we haven't talked about that you're facing, that's actually where we need you, because we deal with the issues our members are seeing, and they're the ones that are communicating to us. And for me, the biggest concern is, what if there's issues out there that we're not hearing about? And so if you're facing issues in your business, which we haven't talked about today, and you say, oh, this is not really addressing the issue what I've heard about, we'll work for you, we'll support you, because it's actually what we do for our members, is bringing the issues we're seeing and bringing positive resolution. Because a lot of our members are great taxpayers. They want to just run their business, do the best thing by their country, do the best thing by their business, and do what they do well. Focus on running their business, focus on running their operations. But there's a lot of changes. And so we organise the tax forums, we have the networking events, we have general updates as new issues come about. But we also do work for the benefit of our members, where they raise issues to us, either through the AmCham membership team, through the AmCham Telegram channels we have, and through us directly as committee members as well.
We're in admittedly a small country that's maturing, that's graduating into higher statuses, and of course, in the beginning, you want to make things simple. You don't want to be too burdensome on your population, on your corporate structures as well. That you want to have a simplified tax system, and you want to grow over time. And as things get more sophisticated and as the economy grows, then the tax system complications obviously will grow. The U.S. tax system, I think you could probably fill the room with books of tax code. That's why CPAs and lawyers are very rich in the United States, for instance. So our tax code is not that complex, and we have a tax department that works with the private sector in partnership, and I applaud them for doing that. What we talked about today were just issues that both parties are talking about to resolve to make things easier to do business. And we've been doing it for years, and it's been working. So congratulations to the tax department. And we're really thankful that we have the opportunity to be able to talk about these issues in open without possibly upsetting people. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Thanks.
I always forget to say that. This has been Anthony Galliano with Lucas Roland Moro for our first premiere show of Tax Talk.